some more news, big takeaways that we got that we found that was most important of this massive PDF. As you see here, I don't know where it is here, but it's called Avoid the Gap. A guy named Brad Martineau, who was Infusionsoft's employee number 6, left. He does his own stuff right now, but he referred to the gap as the enemy of scaling your business, can be summed up as the gap. Now, I know this because I'm a little bit of a procrastinator. I successfully get out of the gap. I'm still getting the gap sometimes. That's like the gap for me is my lab. You know, like when I get into the lab, it's my gap. When I'm working on something, I'm deep in the trenches, and to the public, it doesn't look like I'm making any progress, but I know that myself I am. Okay, so the gap is in between the idea and implementing that idea. Okay, so ask yourself this, and we're not going to go through all this are just things to consider, signs that you're in the gap. Okay, if you're not sure what to do next, if you're slow or tedious or inaccurate, if you're not implementing things, you're kind of like frozen, right? You don't know what to do next. Is this right? Is this not right? I don't know how to take the next step. And if you feel all messy and confusing, if your office is like papers everywhere and you're just not organized and you're like, okay, I know I have to work, but I don't know what to do next, then you're in what Brad calls the gap. Okay, so what can you find in this gap, in this place that you don't like, this gap? What do you find? What's the experience? And I heard this, and it was one of the biggest takeaways. So the gap is when you have no plan of attack. Okay, so you're at your computer, you're like, I don't even know what I'm going to work on next. Like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know how to make this, you know, and it may not be that clueless. You just don't know what your next strategic game plan is. And that's probably because you have a lack of a blueprint. Okay, so little takeaway there is never plan and blueprint at the same time. So you need to make a blueprint first, then you need to plan how you're going to execute that blueprint. And if you're not doing both of those, then you have no system of implementation, which means you're confused, you're stuck, you don't do anything, you get frozen, and you're like, I must be in the gap. Okay, and remember this, guys. Always refer yourself, because the key that I know the biggest thing is getting out of that gap. It's having other people help you get out of the gap. It's having, guys like us, our support team, brick&mobile, to help you get out of that gap. I mean, that's what we're here for. So how can you avoid the gap? And I know this myself, and this has actually successfully allowed me to get out of the gap much faster. When I fall into the gap, I just jump out of it right away because I use a proven business model. I don't try to reinvent the wheel. I don't try to invent the light bulb for the first time, all right? I just get an idea. If I have a really cool idea, I get this, hey, I'm going to do this. Because it interests me, it's profitable, it's going to really, really drive it, like mobile. You create a playbook. So you decide, what do I want to accomplish? Like, what is the goal here? Like, do I want to score a touchdown? Do I want to go on defense? You have to understand, what is your objective? For many of you, it's to make a lot of money, right? Then you want to create the blueprint to execute that playbook. So you have the playbook, I understand how to do it, step by step how you do it. This is the real takeaway, guys. The build. You get the system in place to make the build. So once you know the playbook and the blueprint, you know what works, what's been proven to work, you got to put it to work. Okay, you got to put the pieces in place, and you have to build out the system. Okay, this is what brick&mobile, this is what we are focused on as far as helping you build that system. The build, as we call it, as Brad calls it, I should say, is the playbook and the blueprint. It's all of our products follow this model. Okay, so it's the mobile CMS, the local pass, local NFC. It's that concept using a proven blueprint, a proven model, proven software, and running with it, not reinventing the wheel.